We made 3,556 ads in 30 days for a mobile app that we're working on. And in this video, I'll show you the creative strategy, how we structured the team, the workflows, and how we maintain performance at scales at this level. And just a quick background about myself if you didn't know already. My name is Sharon and I run a small company which makes over 20,000 ad creatives every month for mobile apps, very specifically subscription-based consumer mobile apps. Our ads get multiple 8 figures in spend. So this video specifically will be for people who are spending over $100,000 a month and you need to keep up with the creative demand. When you're dealing with very high budgets, creative fatigue is something that is difficult to deal with. So it is an absolute must that you focus on creating ads or creatives that can scale, that are very scalable, or else you're gonna have to make millions and millions of ads that are just you run it, burn out, open to the next one. It's not gonna be fun. So you should be focused on making your ads scalable, and I've made a completely separate video about making ads that are scalable, which is my previous video, so you can go check it out if you're interested. But pretty much I'll basically show you in this video how you're gonna test ads so that you can find elements to make your ads more scalable. So before you create anything at all, I think it's very essential that you declare or take into account what the actual KPI that you're aiming for is. And for us, it's always has been ROAS. So for us, it's very important that we hit these ROAS targets. And in our experience from the ads that we've made, we average a 5% to a 12% hit rate. And a hit basically is, some of you might already know what a hit is, but a hit is basically your ad is able to get a lot of spend and hit ROAS at the same time. So pretty much whenever an ad is able to get, in our case, we keep a benchmark between $10,000 to $20,000 in spend, and it's still hitting ROAS targets, then we can call that ad a hit. We often see 5 to 12% as the stat from the 20,000 ads that we make typically become a hit. You probably realize I always talk about the number of ads we create and stuff, but the goal should not be to create a large number of ads. That should not be your objective. Instead, your goal should be testing to find things that become scalable. And once you find something that is scalable, your job is to just repeat this over and over and over again until you absolutely milk that mother. End of the day, it's not about how many ads that you can create. It should be about how many winning ads that you can make. So you need to make the likelihood of you having a winning ad very high. And the way you do this is whenever you find something that works is to just recycle it, iterate on it, and make a lot of variations out of it so that you can get the most output from the learnings that you get. All right, enough yapping. Let's dive into how we made 3,556 ads. To give you a quick background about the app, it's an education app. In this specific month, we averaged a 10 to 12% hit rate for the creatives. That's a quick background about the app that we're working with. And also this is advertised to over 17 different countries. So there is a lot of translations and localizations in this batch of creatives, but that's a quick background for you to get an idea. So pretty much the split that we had was 60 to 70% were iterations, or pretty much iterating on winning ads. And the rest of it, pretty much the other 30 to 40% was new ideas. So you would have a constant stream of iterations of winning ads and also a constant stream of new ideas that we would make as well. Now, the most important thing is keeping track of data. Whenever you do iterations or whenever you run an ad, you need to keep record of all the elements or all the learnings, whatever it is, all the information regarding whatever you do, you need to record it because that's what's going to move the needle. Don't run ads and not document it because you are, I don't know what's the point, right? You're gonna make an ad, you're gonna run it, and okay, wow, over to the next one. Don't do that. Make sure you record all the data that you get whenever you run an ad. Record it. Especially if you're working with a team, it is a very good idea for you to have a conversation with them, maybe get on a Zoom call or whatever, and discuss all the learnings that every single one of you have. But I'll also talk about how you can use AI to this process, which is going to help you 10 times more. We would only leave around 10 to 20%, a very small amount for us to test wild ideas. Because I've seen it happen over and over again where we just go completely out of the box, think of something completely different, and it works out really, really, really well. So always leave a little room just for you to become wildly creative. But the rest of it should just be getting the learnings, getting the data from the ads that you run, from the iterations that you make, and then integrate it for the new ones that you're creating. So it should basically be like a cycle where you do something, you get the learning, you integrate it, then you get the feedback from it, and then you integrate it again, and you have this cycle going on. That's what's most important. But also leave a little bit of room where you just go crazy, you test your wild ideas, because I think that's also as important as using data. How do you integrate ChatGPT into this? is you could have a spreadsheet. I'll show you a quick screenshot here as well. But you could have a spreadsheet and you could record all your learnings from the ad, whether the ad was a winner, whether it was a loser, what was the hook, what was the visuals on the hook, what was the voiceover, and all the details that you can put in to the spreadsheet. Go ahead and put it. And once you have these things in the spreadsheet, you can feed this into ChatGPT, and then you can ask ChatGPT to give you learnings, patterns, what works, what doesn't work. And even when you write new scripts, you can ask ChatGPT to compare it and review it against the data that you have. This is going to be very helpful to you because now you have this section or you have AI checking all the new ads, the new ideas, the new scripts against data. So you're not just writing off the top of your head, you have actual data that's backing up whatever you're writing. So make sure you document everything. Spreadsheet would be the easiest. I know a lot of people use Notion as well. Me personally, I've found Spreadsheet to be easier. Spreadsheet and ClickUp are two main project management tools that we're using. You can use something else, doesn't matter as long as it gets the job done. So iterations are purely based on what's working and what's not working on the ads that you make. It's very simple. And we've also found that it's much easier for us to find a hit whenever we iterate on a winning ad, because you already know these are the things that have worked, these are the things that have not worked. Let me not do what's not working and do what's working. So the chances of you finding a winner from an iteration is much higher. And another very big benefit that you get from iterations, even if it doesn't become a hit, is you get to keep the creative that's currently winning. You get to keep it a winner for a long period of time because this prevents burnout. You're just spinning it in different ways. So in this way, it also prevents your creatives from fatiguing. But you should spend majority of your iterations, 70 to 80% of your iterations should be purely based on data. And the rest, once again, you play around, you just become wild with it. But majority of it, you have to do it based off of data. Did this background work? Did this AI actor work? Did this music work? Did this hook work? This headline, this color? All those things should be purely based on data. And the rest, you can obviously be as creative as you like. The majority of the iterations that we do are purely on the hook. Now, I've made a post on LinkedIn where I break down all the things that you could iterate on, but for us, it's mainly been the hook. And by the hook, I don't mean you don't change the hook completely. Sometimes you change only the headline. Sometimes you change the visuals. Sometimes you change it entirely. Sometimes you just change the colors, the format, all these things. So it could vary depending on the learnings that we have and all the data that we have. But most of the iterations, I would say around 60 to 70% of the iterations that we made are purely on the hook. Now, one of the main ways that we iterated for this app specifically was by iterating the use case of a feature that we found to be scalable. So we tested different features that's in the app. We tested different features of it and found out the most scalable feature. And of this scalable feature, we tested a lot of use cases. The same feature for a different function. We tested a lot of them. And from this, we were able to find two main use cases that happen to be the most scalable. And once we have data that, okay, this use case worked, this use case doesn't work, you just have to execute on it in different ways. You just have to become creative. I'll also show you how you can generate ideas as well. It was different executions of this use case once we found out these use cases to be scalable. And also, I'm not too sure whether this applies for most apps, but for this app specifically, we also found out that talking about pain points, desires, and all these things that did not work. So if we mention, are you struggling with this or are you doing with this? It didn't work. Instead, what worked was, instead of like saying the pain point or desire, showing it in the use case was what worked. To give you an example here, instead of saying, are you struggling with writing, we would just show the app in action writing something for you. So it was a situation where we showed instead of say, and this is what worked for us. So all the ads where we mentioned the actual problem didn't work. Instead, we showed the problem being solved in action. That's what worked the best. But once again, this might not be the case for what you're working with. For example, we work with a productivity app. And for this app specifically, more than showing it, actually writing it down is what works. Writing down the problem, writing down the use case, or pretty much anything that we write it down. That's what worked best for a productivity app that we're working. So what might work, or the things that I'm saying right now might not, you might not be able to grab it and put it into your app because it might be completely different. So always test. And the other important thing, this is not related to creating a volume of ads, but I just wanted to say it anyway. Not each user you acquire is going to be of the same value, because we have had ads that drive really good engagement. People are commenting, people really like it, but it doesn't bring conversions. So the cost per install might be like 1 cent, but there's no point because they're not subscribing. So make sure you have your metrics in place, see what metrics matter the most to you, and emphasize on them more. We would launch ads in multiples of 4. So this one reason is because we can launch them as an ad set, and the other reason is that would give us enough data to make decisions. Like I said earlier, you need to have data. In order for you to get data, you need to test, and you cannot make one ad and be like, okay, this doesn't work. You can't. You need more iterations. You need to test different hooks, different XYZ. So because of this, we would go with multiples of 4. We would make 4 ads. We would make 8 ads at a time, 16. This way, there's enough variations for us to make decisions on whether something's working and whether something's not. Our main source of ideas would come from organic content, from competitors, and just being creative. Those 3 are the main sources where we get our ideas from. For iterations or new ideas, these 3 places were the areas where we found the most ideas. And to give you a bit more context on how you can become more creative, allow yourself to consume a lot of content. There's no saying that it has to be related to your product, but give yourself content. Watch doom scroll, watch brain rot on TikTok, on Instagram, watch these things and consume content, because you'll be able to find patterns. For example, you might feel like this type of ad, this type of way of editing seems to get more engagement. And when you're creating iterations or coming up with new ideas, in your subconscious, you would have these things in your head. So coming up with ideas, iterating on it would be much easier because you just have this load of inspiration in your head. So don't be afraid to go on TikTok and watch some brain rot, because you have to, or else it's hard to be creative. But the biggest lever that I've been able to pull this year especially is ChatGPT and using AI, especially for iterations. Reason number 1 is it's able to hold a lot of data. You can feed it data. This worked, this didn't work, this worked, this worked. Here's why it didn't work. Here's why it worked. You give all of this information, and from this information, you can ask ChatGPT to write for you. And this is super, super, super effective. It has speeded up our process like 10 times. Something that would typically take us 2 hours now would take a couple of minutes, simply because ChatGPT is able to understand what's working, what's not working, and then spit out new scripts and new hooks and all these other variations. So this has been very beneficial. And we've also built an internal AI tool just to compare scripts and do iterations a bit more. And the other thing, which also has been pretty game changer for us, was whenever something new was created, a new script, new iteration, anything new, once it's created, it would get reviewed by 2 more people. The reason is, I always talk about how you should be obsessed with the product that you're selling. So when you have 2 people that are selling the same thing, trying to get the same outcome, you're able to give more value, or you're pretty much increasing the chances of that ad working, because you're getting multiple perspectives of people that are all trying to do the same thing. So in this way, you can do a large volume of ads. You can ask your creative strategist, you can use AI, and you can do all of these variations and all these different versions of an ad and get it reviewed by 2 more people, and then you would have more ads. Sometimes initially you would create 4 ads, but the other person sees it and comes up with a new idea, and they're like, okay, why not test this and this and this and this as well? The 4 ads might become 16 ads, and from those 16 ads, you might find 5 to 10 winning ads. This could happen. At least have 1 more person to review your ads, because it gives, number 1, it gives the person who initially wrote it a new perspective, and also it increases the chances of the ad working. And believe it or not, we did not use any UGC creators for the ads that we made. We purely did it with AI voiceovers, screen recordings, and a few animations. The reason I personally find it difficult to work with UGC is majority of our clients need a lot of creators at a time. And I've personally found out maybe I'm doing it the wrong way. I don't know. I found it difficult to get fast turnarounds with UGC creators, and you have to point things out way too much. So it's not as efficient as what we have, and it can become quite costly as well, especially if you're doing a lot of iteration. So we didn't use any UGC creators. It was primarily just screen recordings, AI voiceovers, and of course, creativity. Imagine I wanted to do 50 to 100 iterations. If it was a UGC creator, it would take me weeks, if not months, to do that volume of creatives. But with the process that we have, and of course, you can use tools like arcads.ai, and there's other different ways where you can create AI creators. We are able to get the same amount in a couple of hours sometimes. So we found that not using it was much more efficient, but I'll get back to you guys because now we're going to test UGC as well to see if it makes a difference. And I'll get back to you with the learnings of that soon. Now, here's what the team looks like. We have project managers, video editors, graphic designers, and the creative strategist, and a separate team to generate AI assets, or we call them the assets team. And they all work in sync. So we treat each different process of creating an ad as a department. So writing the script, there's script writers. Assigning a video to a video editor and getting the video out, project managers and video editors. So we treat each step of creating an ad as a separate department. This made it very efficient for us to create ads. And you can go ahead and watch the video where I made on how we make 1,000 ads a day, where I explain the entire team structure and processes you should have to do that much of volume while hitting KPI. So that's pretty much how we did it. It was number one, just finding scalable factors to our ads, whether it's the audience, use case, whatever it is, finding things that are scalable. And once we find it, it's just a matter of creating ads based on the hit rate and increasing it over time. So if we needed 100 hits, we would have to create 1,000 ads. And likewise, it's just math after that. But the most important thing here is not the number of ads you make, but the number of winning ads you make and the learnings that you have. Because once you have these learnings, creating ads is very easy. All you have to do is just scale your team. You need more script writers, you just need more editors, more project managers, and more people in your assets team. I hope this video helps you out if you are someone who's looking to scale the number of creatives that you're looking to make or your ad spend. I hope this helps you out. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below and I'll talk to you later. Peace.